Persona 3 Reload is a JRPG live sim game where you play as a young high school student who has just moved to the fictional Tatsumi Port Island and learn of a hidden 25th hour of the day. Upon discovering your potential as a Persona user, you are thrusted into a supernatural adventure to save humanity. A remake of the original Persona 3, I was excited to experience a story that many fans of the franchise have openly adored. I had high expectations of the game, having played and enjoyed Persona 4 and 5. After dedicating an entire month solely to playing Persona 3 Reload, I like to examine through a psychodynamic lens what attracted and motivated me to commit so much time to this game. The main challenge posed by the game is the Ascending of Tartarus, a mysterious supernatural tower where players will spend hours exploring and fighting. There's no real reason to explore it, as the story will progress regardless of if the player ever visits it. So why was I motivated to enter Tartarus? There's one psychoanalyst that comes to mind, Sigmund Freud, and his concept of the parts of personality, the id, ego, and superego. The id is an instinctual drive, and Freud believed it to be the base of all psychic energy, the primary element of personality. Largely in the unconscious, things like hunger, thirst, anger, and sexual appetite were said to originate from it. The ego was said to deal with reality, functioning in the conscious, preconscious, and unconscious mind, described to have a horse and rider relationship with the id, guiding it to act appropriately. And the superego holds a sense of decision and morality, making a person feel guilty doing bad and proud when doing good. When applied to my own playthrough and motivations to playing the game, it can be said my id was driven by an unconscious desire for battle and conquest that could be only found in Tartarus. My superego was driven by the narrative to save humanity, being told that delving into the dungeon would aid it. My ego, however, was more cautious about going through the dungeon. Needing to control my want for battle was sustaining health and spell costs. Considering that, I was motivated to grow stronger, and to do that, I had to acquire more powerful personas, the best way being to fuse for them. It's here that we're directly told we should create bonds with various NPCs, the strength of which would directly benefit the player, and so I went off to make friends. The second half of the game, the Life Simulator, has us actually play as a regular high school student. Most of the time will be spent with NPCs scattered around the game world to improve our bond for better persona creation. The Persona games are quite funny in that I choose to neglect the outside world in order to spend time in a fictional version of it. As to why, I look to Carl Jung's concept of extroversion and introversion. Extroversion, meaning in a relationship between the subject and object, subjective interest and libido moves from the subject towards the object, while introversion is the inverse, libido and interest withdraw into the subject. Or to put simply, introverts prefer the internal worlds of thoughts, feelings, fantasy, and dreams, while extroverts prefer the external world of things, events, people, and activities. I don't believe I'm one or the other. I enjoy my own internal thoughts and privacy, but also enjoy spending time with friends. But Persona 3 Reload offers a unique opportunity to satisfy both desires, allowing me to retreat into a fantastical internal world, but also experience a virtual external life. However, I do not have unlimited time with these NPCs, and needed to reduce time wasted. I needed to reduce time I spent in Tartarus. To do that, I needed to get stronger personas. I desired the strongest persona I could make. Jacques Lacan spoke heavily about the nature of desire, that it was what a subject seeks in love or passion beyond possible gratification. That while there was physical or symbolic gratification capable of being achieved, unsatisfied residue would remain and there would be a persistent yearning for total satisfaction in the real. This unconscious clinging to an unachievable, unsatisfiable desire, Lacan called the objet petit, or, in my case, a persona that can unleash huge amounts of damage, protect me from everything, and cost me nothing to use. In the early stages of the game, I could only create personas with slightly stronger attacks or with specific elemental typing in mind. Further on, I dedicate time and resources into building stronger and stronger personas. While my perfect persona was still a long way away, my dedication granted me incredibly powerful ones that made battling easier. Feeling rewarded, I continue my work to strive for the perfect persona. However, Persona is a game, and games have limits, and I had grown more powerful than the game could challenge me. I felt little motivation to keep playing. Lacanian theory would describe this as a short-circuiting of the flow of desire, causing my malaise. I now had little desire to continue playing. It did. Not for battle now, but for the NPCs I've met along the way. In the time I'd spent with these characters, I'd laughed with them, bonded with them, saw myself in them. This could be described as identification, as seen in Lacan's mirror stage theory. In short, it describes how a child would see a reflected image of themselves, identify with it, and then internalize it as a representation of the unified body in the psyche, and then be better able to move their body in space. In my case, it was more symbolic. I'd learn of their personal lives, their struggles with identity, changes in their home lives, regret of the past, and fear of the future. They'd come to be symbolic representations of my own internal struggles, and I'd come to identify and invest myself in them, looking forward to seeing the next step of their stories. To see them struggle, accept, and overcome their challenges comforted and inspired me. Sigmund Freud would call this catharsis, a process of purging ourselves of emotions when certain unconscious memories, impulses, and fantasies become conscious. Freud's ideas were inspired by Aristotle's thoughts of catharsis in theatre, where theatre and drama could arouse terror and pity in audiences to purge emotions when following stories of heroes neither perfect nor evil. The same can be said for Persona 3 Reload, wherein, befriending these human characters, I empathize and identify with them. In following their journeys, repressed thoughts and emotions like my self-esteem and fears of the future became conscious, were allowed to be experienced and purged. While I can't completely say I reflected on my entire life, I like to say it made me a bit more conscious of how I lived and live it.